Marco's POV. The elevator doors slid open with a dull metallic groan, and I stepped inside, dragging my feet like the day itself had beaten me senseless. My tie was half loose, shirt sticking to my back, and my phone wouldn't stop buzzing with unread messages from clients who wanted to discuss urgent revisions. Being a real estate agent meant pretending to be polite even when you wanted to throw your phone off the 14th floor. I'd just finished showing a client the penthouse suite on top of this luxury high-rise downtown. She was still there, fussing over the lighting, while I'd stepped out to grab the property papers from my car downstairs. My head was pounding, my patience long gone, and all I wanted was 5 damn minutes of silence. As I pressed the button for the ground floor, the elevator doors began to close. Then a voice, low, rushed, familiar, cut through the hum of the shaft. "Hold the door!" Without thinking, I hit the door open button, and then I froze, because the man who stepped in was Stefan. The air between us went still. My chest tightened so hard I could hear the blood rush in my ears. Stefan looked the same, and yet not. He still had that sharp, angular jawline, the slight shadow of a beard, the black button-up rolled up at the sleeves showing his forearms. God, those arms! His hair was a little shorter and neater, but the piercing gray eyes were exactly the same. Eyes that had once looked at me like they could see right through every wall I ever built. He pressed the button for the ground floor. His voice came out low and edged. "Didn't expect to see you again, Marco." I forced a weak, useless smile. "Yeah, same." The doors closed, sealing us inside. The silence that followed was brutal. My hand tightened around my phone, knuckles white. I could practically feel Stefan's gaze on me, tracing the space between us like static. "So, you're here for?" Stefan asked. "Work," I replied before asking the same. "And you?" "Just visiting a friend," he replied. The elevator hummed. Then it jolted. Once, hard. The lights flickered, buzzed, and died. "Shit," I muttered. Stefan sighed, leaning back against the wall, arms crossed. "Guess you can't ghost me this time." His tone was flat, but carried a bite underneath it. My throat went dry. Flashback. I met Stefan by accident, literally. A year ago at the airport, I grabbed the wrong black suitcase from the baggage carousel. I didn't even realize until my Uber was halfway downtown, and I opened it to find sketchbooks and scale models instead of client contracts. My phone rang before I could panic. A deep, smooth voice said, "So, I'm guessing you're the one who stole my luggage?" We met at a cafe near the terminal to exchange bags. He was wearing a white t-shirt and brown trousers, hair messy, smiled disarming. The kind of smile that made you think, I'm screwed. When our fingers brushed as we exchanged the handles, there was a moment. Just a flicker. But I felt it. So did he. After that, we kept running into each other like fate had a sick sense of humor. Once, at a mutual friend's party, he cornered me near the balcony with a glass of whiskey and said, "You always look like you're ready to leave." Why's that? Another time, my car broke down near downtown, and he just happened to be driving by, offered a ride. I said no. He leaned out the window with that smirk. "You trust Uber more than me?" I got in. Against my better judgment, I got in. Turned out he was an architect, owned a small firm, but talked like he built empires. Confident, bold, but never arrogant. I was the cautious one, always keeping things light, never letting him get too close. Until I did. We started seeing each other, slowly, then faster. Coffee dates turned into late-night drives, his hand finding mine on the gear shift, his lips finding me before I could think too much about why it felt right. But everything changed that day. We were at the Cinepolis, supposed to watch a movie. Stefan went to the washroom while I waited outside with popcorn, and then Roman showed up, my abusive ex. He cornered me near the escalator, his voice low and venomous. "Still running your mouth about me?" His hand gripped my wrist, nails digging in like he used to do when we fought. Before I could react, Stefan appeared out of nowhere. He grabbed Roman by the collar, shoved him back hard enough that people turned to stare. His voice thundered, "Touch him again, and I'll break your fucking hand." Roman stumbled away, but Stefan didn't stop when Rowan tried to launch back. Stefan punched Rowan so hard that more than Rowan, I felt shaken within. Stefan looked like he could kill him. That fury, raw and protective, should have made me feel safe. But it didn't. It reminded me of the same look Roman used to have. Murderous. The same loss of control. The same danger. If it wasn't for the security guard, Stefan would have sure dug Roman's grave. I froze. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't explain. And Stefan's voice softened when he realized I was shaking. Hey, it's okay. He's gone, but I couldn't look at him. That was the moment I realized how much I'd let myself be drawn in. Stefan was fire, and I had no idea how to handle it. After that night, I ignored his texts, then his calls, then I blocked his number. A week later, I packed my bags and moved to a new city. Told myself it was for work, but it wasn't. It was fear. And now, after a whole year, I was standing in a fucking elevator with him again. Flashback ends. The elevator was pitch dark except for the dim red glow of the emergency light. The air felt thicker, heavier. My pulse was everywhere. Neck, chest, fingertips. Stefan exhaled sharply. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I let out a shaky breath. "Maybe I have." He chuckled under his breath, no humor in it. "You've got some nerve." "I didn't plan this," I said, rubbing my temples. "Sure, the city you moved to just happens to land you in the same building as me." "It's for work," I muttered. Stefan pushed off the wall and stepped closer. Not threateningly, but close enough that I could smell the faint scent of his cologne. Clean, woodsy, unmistakable. "Work, huh?" he said quietly. "That's the excuse you're going with?" His voice had that same rough edge I used to crave. It did something to me I didn't want to admit. My back hit the elevator wall. "What do you want me to say, Stefan?" "That I was scared?" "Were you?" he asked, his tone gentler now. I didn't answer, because we both knew the truth. He studied me for a long moment, his eyes softer but still burning. "You look the same, you know." Tired. Guarded. "Yeah, well," I whispered, "you still talk too much." That earned the faintest smirk from him, a flicker of something warm, familiar. The silence that followed wasn't hostile this time, just heavy, unfinished. I looked down, trying to focus on the blinking emergency button. Anything but him. But my thoughts kept circling back. His laugh. The way he used to brush his fingers along my jaw when he thought I wasn't paying attention. The way he kissed like he meant it. Being trapped with him again was torture, but not the kind I wanted to escape from. And as the elevator stayed still, humming quietly in the dark, I realized the truth that burned the back of my throat. I never really stopped wanting him. 30 minutes in the hum of the elevator was the only sound besides our uneven breathing. Stefan pulled out his phone, fingers moving with practiced precision. I could almost hear the low thrum of his irritation in the silence. The screen stayed blank. No signal. He muttered something under his breath and shoved it back into his pocket. I wanted to look away, to pretend I didn't feel the weight of his gaze on me, but I couldn't. The space was small, and somehow in the darkness the proximity between us was suffocating and magnetic all at once. "So," Stefan began, tone casual, too casual. My stomach clenched. "What made you disappear last time? Busy or just done with me?" I froze for a fraction of a second before forcing my voice to sound neutral. "It wasn't like that." He snorted softly, the sound low and almost dangerous. "Right," he said, leaning against the wall just slightly closer. "You ghosted me for sport then. Didn't even say goodbye." My chest tightened. I could feel the old guilt pricking at me. "You were too much, Stefan," You scared me, I admitted, barely a whisper. His brow arched, and that same smirk that used to drive me insane tugged at the corner of his mouth. Too much or too honest? He asked, stepping just a hair closer. My stomach betrayed me with a hard, sudden flip. I swallowed. You looked at me like I mattered, I blurted, voice tight, my breath catching. After 2 weeks. That's not normal. There, I said it. I didn't know whether I wanted him to bite back or just step closer and crush me against the wall. Part of me wanted both. He tilted his head, green eyes glinting even in the flickering dim. Maybe I knew what I wanted. His voice was low now, deliberate, a whisper meant to linger. I could feel the air between us thicken, heavier, warmer. My hands itched to touch him, to feel that weight against me, but I didn't. I couldn't. I'd spent a year trying to convince myself that I didn't want him anymore. Now one glance and one impossible nearness, and all that work was crumbling. So you just waited? I asked, trying to sound casual, failing miserably. My pulse thumped against my ribs like it wanted to escape. He shrugged, deceptively nonchalant, but the set of his shoulders betrayed him. I didn't stop. Not for a second I wanted to yell, to curse him for making my chest ache like this. Instead, my voice came out quieter, almost vulnerable. I didn't know how to deal with someone who actually cared. A pause. I could hear his breathing, measured and steady, a contrast to my own uneven rhythm. He leaned closer, so close I could feel his warmth through the fabric of his shirt. You think I didn't get scared too? He asked softly, almost a confession. You ran, Marco. I was worried you'd disappear forever. I swallowed hard, heart racing, eyes flicking to his. The smirk had softened now, but the intensity hadn't. Not even slightly. And just like that, I remembered everything about him. The way he looked at me, like he could see straight into the parts I tried to hide. The charm, the fire, the relentless pull that had made me stay, then run, then regret. I didn't know how to let anyone care without losing myself, I admitted, voice rough. You're too much, too fast. I couldn't handle it. He tilted his head, exhaling softly. Too much, huh? His hand brushed lightly against my arm. Not accidental, and it made me tense. My pulse spiked instantly. Or too real? I felt heat crawl up my neck. Maybe both, I whispered. Stefan's green eyes caught mine, unblinking, unwavering. You think I wouldn't have waited? Even if you ran? I don't scare that easily. And then he did something small, deliberate. His hand grazed mine again, slower this time, testing, reminding me. I could feel the heat of him through my jeans. I wanted to pull away, but a part of me, a deep, honest part, didn't. Maybe you didn't understand, I muttered, voice lower now, more intimate, more real. I wanted you. Even then, the smirk returned, softer, teasing, but knowing. I knew. The darkness in the elevator suddenly didn't feel so threatening. It felt like a cocoon, tight and suffocating, yes, but also intimate in a way that no sunlight or open space ever had been. The tension wasn't just guilt anymore. It was anticipation, a mix of frustration and desire, and a flicker of something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in a long time. Trust. I looked down at our hands brushing again and thought, God, this is insane. I shouldn't want this. But the truth was, I did. I wanted him closer, wanted the warmth he radiated and the danger he embodied, even if it scared the hell out of me. Stefan tilted his head, reading my expression like a damn book. Don't look so conflicted, he murmured. I like it when you squirm. I bit my lip, heart hammering, heat crawling through me in ways I hadn't expected. Squirm? I wanted to collapse against him, kiss him, admit everything I'd hidden. but I couldn't. Not yet. "You're impossible," I muttered, more to myself than him. "And yet, here you are," he said, eyes glinting in the faint light. "So maybe I'm exactly what you need." I swallowed hard, not trusting my voice to say anything else. My hands were clammy, my chest tight, and my mind a jumble of past memories, lingering guilt, and the undeniable pull I'd been trying to resist for a year. The elevator shuddered faintly, and the weak emergency light flickered, casting long, uncertain shadows across the walls. My breath hitched, not from fear this time, but from the heat of the moment. The way Stefan's presence was a weight I couldn't ignore. Darkness had never felt so intimate. Stefan leaned back against the wall with a low sigh, rubbing the back of his neck. "Let's sit," he said, voice softer than I expected, teasing lightly. "Unless you still think I bite." I hesitated, then eased myself down beside him on the cold metal floor. I kept the barest amount of distance between us. Foolish, I knew, given how close we already were. The faint smell of him, the warmth radiating off his body, made my chest tighten. For a long while, we sat in silence. Not awkward exactly, just charged. Every creak of the elevator and flicker of light seemed louder, sharper, like it was underscoring the tension between us. Finally, he spoke again, quieter this time, almost vulnerable. "I checked your profile every week," he admitted, his tone low, almost embarrassed. "Like an idiot." The words hit me in a way I hadn't expected. My chest tightened, throat constricting. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was heavy, full of things left unsaid. I could feel his shoulder near mine, the faint brush of his knee against mine. My heart was hammering, my skin tingling. Our hands brushed, light and accidental. And neither of us pulled away. And suddenly the elevator jolted violently, metal screeching and light swinging, and my stomach lurched. Instinctively, I grabbed Stefan's arm, fingers digging into the warmth of his sleeve. Panic surged through me like electricity. Hey, it's okay." "I've got you," he murmured, steadying me effortlessly, his broad shoulder pressing just enough to ground me. "I hate this. I hate being stuck," I admitted, voice trembling, breath uneven. My chest felt tight, heart hammering. Stefan's hand lingered on my arm for a heartbeat longer than necessary, anchoring me in a way no one else ever had. "You're fine." "Look at me." His voice was calm, warm, and insistently patient. I swallowed hard, finally meeting his gray eyes in the dim flicker of the emergency light. The anger and hurt that had simmered between us all night had melted, replaced by something steady, something solid and comforting I hadn't realized I'd needed. "Why do you still care?" I whispered, almost afraid to hear the answer. "Why do you think I still care?" he replied softly, and there it was, the certainty that had eluded me for a year. I exhaled shakily, letting some of the tension bleed out of me. I leaned into him almost without thinking, forehead against his chest, feeling the warmth and strength of him envelop me. "I'm sorry," I muttered, voice muffled against his shirt. Stefan's hand rose slowly, resting at the back of my neck. Not possessive, not demanding, just grounding. The gesture made my stomach twist with longing. It wasn't a claim. It was a promise. I was safe here. For once, I could let the walls fall. I felt his breath against my hair, his heartbeat steady, and it drew me closer, closer than I'd intended. Every nerve in my body was alive with heat, with anticipation, with the memory of everything we'd shared, and everything I'd run from. Our lips hovered inches apart. I could feel the faint warmth of him, the pull of desire that had been simmering since the moment we stepped into this elevator. My pulse was deafening in my ears. "Marco," he whispered, voice low and rough, and my name sounded like a caress, like a warning, like a promise all at once. I closed my eyes, leaning just a fraction closer, drawn by the inevitability of it all. The heat between us was no longer just emotional. It was physical, undeniable. My fingers grazed his chest as if testing the boundaries, and his hand tightened slightly at the nape of my neck. A grounding touch, not a claim. And then, just as I was sure we'd cross that final line, the elevator shuddered again, lights snapping back on in a harsh flash. We froze, faces inches apart, and I felt my heartbeat slam against my ribs. The sudden illumination was jarring, too real, too immediate. My body tensed instinctively, and I could feel his breath on my skin. The near kiss hung between us, electrifying and raw, a moment both terrifying and perfect. I wanted to close the distance, to surrender to the longing that had been simmering all night. But there was a patience in him, a restraint that made me ache even more. I could see it in his eyes, the same fire, the same desire, tempered by understanding and care. "You're impossible," I whispered, voice shaky but steady enough to carry through the small space between us. He let out a short laugh, low and intimate, fingers brushing my neck again. "And you're still a damsel in distress I keep saving," he replied, and the words were weighty, playful, but not teasing, just honest. The elevator creaked softly, but the fear didn't matter anymore. The tension between us had crossed a line that couldn't be undone. My heart pounded as I felt every inch of him close, terrifying and safe all at once. Stefan had always been that impossible mix. We didn't kiss, but the air between us pulsed with everything unsaid, his warm hand at my neck saying what words couldn't. It was messy, real, and maybe exactly what I'd been waiting for. It took another 30 minutes for the elevator door to shudder open. Relief hit me like a wave I didn't realize I'd been holding back. The building management was babbling apologies, clearly flustered, but I barely heard them. My gaze was locked on Stefan. His jaw was relaxed now, eyes flicking over me, just enough to make my chest constrict. There was something in the look, quiet, amused, aware, that told me he felt the same way I did about that night. Not the frustration, not the fear, but the undeniable pull. The way being trapped together had forced us to confront everything we'd avoided for months. Stefan stepped out first, hands casually in his pockets, then turned back with that faint smirk of his. "Guess this is your stop," he said lightly. I froze. Words caught in my throat. No, I didn't want this to end like some awkward elevator encounter where nothing changed. "Can we talk properly?" I blurted. His green eyes met mine, sharp, assessing, then softened. "Tomorrow. Coffee. Don't run this time." I nodded, almost stumbling over the words, heart still racing. Next. Morning. I arrived at the cafe early, restless. My fingers drummed nervously against the tabletop as I stared at the door. I wasn't sure what I expected. Anger, indifference, more teasing. But what I felt most was hope. The bell above the door chimed, and I looked up. Stefan walked in like he owned the calm of the morning, hands casually in his pockets, his eyes scanning until they landed on me. That smile, faint but warm, made my chest constrict all over again. I forced a half smile, trying to look casual. "Morning." "Morning," he replied, voice low, steady, no trace of the sarcasm that usually laced his words. We slid into a booth, the air between us awkward but not tense. He reached across the table, just brushing his fingers against mine when he took the sugar packet for his coffee, and it sent a jolt through me. I cleared my throat, trying for casual, failing spectacularly. "It's good to see you outside the elevator," I murmured, knowing the statement was far from the truth. Stefan raised an eyebrow, lips twitching faintly. "You look like you've been thinking about last night nonstop." I shifted uncomfortably, shrugging. "Maybe I have." "It's a lot to process, I guess." He leaned back, gaze never leaving me. "I can tell." "So, talk to me. What was going through your head back then, when you vanished?" I took a slow breath, weighing each word. I didn't know how to handle it. Everything about you was overwhelming in a way I couldn't sort out. It wasn't that I didn't care, I just froze. Stefan's jaw tightened, though his eyes softened. Frozen, huh? That's one way to put it. I always figured you just walked away because I was too me. I couldn't meet his eyes immediately. You were intense, protective, honest. I hadn't had anyone care that way before. And it terrified me that day at the mall when He leaned in slightly, voice gentle. You mean Roman? Seeing your violent side scared me. I nodded, swallowing hard. Roman. He left a mark on me. And when you confronted him that day, the fire in you, it reminded me of what I'd always tried to escape. I didn't want to drag you into that mess, so I ran. Stefan studied me for a long moment, then exhaled, letting the tension ease slightly. I get it. I just wish you trusted me enough to tell me that instead of disappearing. I know, I admitted, voice low. I should have said something. I just didn't know how. I'm sorry, You deserve better than me. His eyes narrowed on me. You don't get to decide for me, Marco. I wanted you then, and I want you now. It's your move. Do you want me or not? I hesitated, my mind flashing back to every moment of connection we'd had. The way he'd always saved me, the way he made me feel seen, the way I couldn't stop wanting him even after a year of running. My pulse thrummed in my ears. I do, I finally admitted, letting the weight of the confession fall between us. Relief and heat collided in my chest. He leaned back slightly, eyes softening. Good. Because I've been waiting. We lingered in the cafe longer than necessary. Coffee half finished, walls lowering, laughter and small confessions filling the space between us. When we finally got up, Stefan offered to see me to my cab. The world outside felt impossibly normal, and yet charged with something delicate, new, and terrifyingly wonderful. We exchanged numbers again, and just as the cab pulled up, my phone buzzed. A text from him. Dinner tomorrow at my place? My chest tightened, heart racing, fingers hovering over the reply. One word, simple, truthful. I typed it slowly, deliberately. Sure? And just like that, a new beginning was set. Next night, I rang the doorbell, heart thudding, hands gripping the paper bag in my hand. When the door opened, Stefan was there, apron tied loosely over his t-shirt, a faint sheen of sweat on his forehead from cooking. His hair was a little mussed, and that grin, charming and cocky, made my chest tighten. You made it, he said, stepping aside to let me in. And you brought something? His eyes flicked to the small gift bag I was holding. I cleared my throat. Yeah, just a little something. Figured you'd appreciate it after all this effort. He took it with a curious glance, then smiled. Careful, Marco. That might earn you bonus points for the night, I smirked. Just don't burn anything, chef. He laughed, shaking his head, then waved me toward the kitchen. No promises. You can supervise, though. I leaned against the counter, watching him stir sauce in a pan. The heat from the stove, the faint scent of garlic, and his focus. God, it was distracting. You always cook like this? I asked, teasing. Not unless I want to impress someone, he replied, eyes glinting as they met mine. I grinned. Guess I'm lucky tonight. He chuckled, setting the pan aside to wipe his hands on the apron. I'll take that as a yes. So, you actually want to be here, huh? I hesitated, fiddling with the little gift in my hands. Yeah, I wasn't sure at first, but I'm glad I did. Glad I'm here. Stefan's eyes softened. Good. Because I was hoping you'd say that dinner was simple but perfect. We opened the gift first, a small bottle of his favorite wine and a box of handmade chocolates. He raised an eyebrow at me. You didn't have to, he said, genuinely pleased. I wanted to, I said, shrugging. A little peace offering, maybe. He laughed, shaking his head. Peace offering accepted. We ate, talking in short bursts, teasing, laughing softly. No long speeches, just conversation that felt real. "You're actually good at this," I said between bites. "At cooking or conversation?" He shot back, playful. "Both," I said, smirking. After dinner, we moved to the balcony, glasses of wine in hand. The city lights stretched below, warm and distant. He looked at me for a long moment, then spoke quietly. "Marco, if we try again, I want it to be real. No running this time. No excuses." I swallowed, fingers brushing against his. "What if I ask first? Would you give me another chance?" He blinked, surprised, then chuckled softly. "Guess we're both idiots, huh?" We laughed quietly, tension melting. His hand found mine, fingers intertwining naturally. "This time," he said, voice low, "I'm holding on tight." "You won't slip away," I smiled, feeling warmth spread through me. "You won't have to. I'm here to stay, even after everything. I still wanted you." Stefan cupped my face gently. "Then I won't let you go." I leaned in, and our lips met, slow, deliberate, and forgiving. Every missed chance, every fear, every moment of doubt dissolved in that kiss. When we pulled back, foreheads pressed together, he whispered, "No more running?" "Never," I murmured, fingers tracing the line of his jaw. We stayed there a long time, hands entwined, wine cooling in our glasses. No grand gestures, no dramatics, just us, real and steady. The city hummed below, but up here, nothing else mattered. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. Epilogue. 6 months later. It was supposed to be a movie date. Supposed to be. Instead, I was power walking through the mall like a man on a mission, jaw clenched, muttering curses under my breath. Behind me, Stefan trailed along, half jogging, half panting, holding a damn bouquet of red roses that he'd bought 5 minutes too late. "Marco, come on. I said I'm sorry." I didn't even glance back. "You're always sorry." "You were late for the trailers, then for the snacks, and finally for the actual damn movie. The movie is over, Stefan." He was weaving through people, calling after me like some desperate rom-com boyfriend. Hey, it was traffic. And you know, the roses were supposed to be my surprise. "Yeah, well, surprise! You missed the whole damn thing," I snapped, spinning around just long enough to glare before stomping toward the elevator. People were watching, some smiling, some laughing. I didn't care. 6 months together, and Stefan still had a habit of showing up late, with that same stupid, charming grin that made it impossible to stay mad for long. We reached the elevator. I stormed inside, heading straight for the back corner, crossing my arms like a pissed-off cat. Stefan followed, bouquet in hand, squeezing through a group of strangers. "Marco, please," I cut him off. "You've lost your talking privileges for an hour." He zipped his lips shut, though his grin stayed put. I rolled my eyes and leaned against the wall, trying to ignore him and the faint smell of roses filling the small space. Then I felt it, his hand on my back, tracing up my spine to my neck. I stiffened. "Stefan," I hissed. "Just checking if you're still mad," he whispered, all fake innocence. "Stop touching me." He smirked. "Didn't sound like a complaint last night." A few people snickered. My face burned. "I swear to God!" The elevator dinged. People started stepping out, and I moved to follow, only for Stefan to grab my wrist and pull me back in just before the doors shut. "Stefan!" He hit the close button, eyes gleaming. "We're not done." "Let me go," he leaned in, voice low and rough. "I didn't hold your hand to let go, Marco. You were mine even when you ghosted me. Now that I've got you back, you're mine, exclusively. Don't ask me to let go again." My heart stuttered. His tone wasn't angry. It was steady, possessive, and way too tempting. I glared, though my voice wavered. "And if I dare again?" His mouth brushed mine. Then neither of us is leaving this elevator until you promise to stay mine. Then he kissed me. Hard, deep, desperate. The roses slipped from his hand, scattering petals near our feet. My fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer until nothing existed except heat, breath, and the hum of the elevator. Then, ding! The door slid open. A mall manager stood outside, walkie-talkie in hand, eyes wide. Sir, oh, I froze, then buried my face in Stefan's collar. Stefan smiled awkwardly. We were just, testing the elevator. The manager blinked. By, making out? Stefan shrugged unapologetically, dragging me out before I could die of embarrassment. By the time we reached the parking lot, I had my hand over my face. Stefan looked far too pleased with himself. He unlocked the car. You're adorable when you're embarrassed. Yeah, and you're annoying. He opened my door, grin softening. I hope I'm forgiven. I buckled in, refusing to look at him. Forgiven? Sweetheart, I was never mad. He blinked. Wait, I smirked. He gasped. You little... Stefan! I yelped as he lunged, tickling me until I was crying with laughter. Okay, I'm sorry. He finally stopped, both of us breathless. He leaned in, pressing a soft kiss on my lips. You're impossible. I smiled, brushing his cheek. And you love me for it. He grinned. Yeah, God help me, I do. The city lights flickered across the windshield. Our laughter lingered. And for once, no elevator drama. Well, hopefully. The end. What's the funniest or most dramatic place you've ever gotten caught kissing, like Marco and Stefan in that elevator? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become part of our Rainbow Force, and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome.